You got to love it here in the city. Our heart beats.
Winnipeg is back in the big leagues and over the moon.
Welcome to the Landing Strip with Nick Lynham and Mikey Garcia, presented by From Financial.
Welcome back to the Landing Strip after the Winnipeg Jets try and come close to their first multi-goal comeback win of the season in Game 35. They fall short rather quickly in that overtime with some very questionable lineup decisions. I'm finally ready, folks, to take a piece out of old Scotty Arneal, who I'm really starting to wonder about if he's going to be here much longer. It was certainly a hockey game of all time. Felt like this one was over 10 minutes in. They worked their way back. Kyle Connor breaks number 300 and then gets 301 as well. Morgan Barron continues to get on that horse. And the Winnipeg Jets continue to be pretty exposed in their defensive zone and in transition. Houston, we have many problems. This is a recording. Mikey, how are you doing this evening?
You know, it's our festive show tonight. We're going to be off for a couple days with the break and everything. We were hoping this was going to be the good vibes show. This was going to be where we were going to be able to have some fun with it, go out on a bang, maybe get a win and feel good, right? Scott Arneal at the end of last game said they needed to win the game in Utah, mostly just so they can have some good moments before Christmas. And boy, howdy, did they just get coal on this one. They were, especially in that first period, maybe the worst first period we've seen them play. Just in general, it looked like nobody gave a shit about showing up, which has become a bit of a trend in Utah. I've noticed they've had a tough time with the games in Utah. They really like that Secret Lives of Mormon Wives show, I guess. I'm not really sure what's happening, but it's it's tough to see them just absolutely lay a goose egg like that in the first, to then try to, storm somewhat back in the second and the third, and you want to stretch it to OT. And again, in a different season, you could go, yeah, they fought back, they were in a hole, they showed resolve. You could give them all the props and the credit, but the way the season has gone so far up to this point, it just feels like we've seen this 104 times up to this point. So I don't really know if I can give them flowers for, again, playing two periods.
Hey, but they're calling for it. The clip. Play the clip, baby. The ethical tank keeps on rolling.
Let's fly.
Don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Don't stop. It'll soon be here.
What are you?
It keeps on rolling.
It keeps on rolling. And let's start with that first period. Actually, no, what is your big takeaway today? We'll keep it going how we usually go.
Coming out of that game, I've got such a tough time finding the bright spots, quote unquote, for this Jets team right now. It's just nothing is going their way. It's not breaking their way. They're not able to execute right now. Nothing is working in their favor. It's real tough, and yeah, especially with that first period, all I kept thinking to myself was, how do you get out of this? How do you fix this? Because the more this game went on, even as they were coming back into it, it's the exact opposite feeling of last year, where I thought every game, whether it was a 1-goal game or what, that they were in it. They were going to stick right to the end of it and have a chance. This year, even when they're storming back, I don't actually think they're going to win. I'm like, they're going to get close and then they're going to come up short again. Because like Scott Arneal said last game, they find ways to lose. That's been their MO. So yeah, 35 games of consistently inconsistent, and I think today was just, again, a perfect example of their season up till now.
Yeah, and as you suggest, Frosty Winnipeg goes along the same lines as you. Well, if it helps, due to increased American production, the stockings will be full of coal for Jets fans this year.
Stay warm.
Honestly, if it wasn't for this show, and coming to chat with everyone after the game, I would have turned that game off today after the first period.
Yep.
And I don't even know if I would have wanted to watch their next one after Christmas. And what is so funny about it, Kevin Sawyer, before the game's even hyping it up as like a must-win effort. And then they just look disorganized, disinterested. That goal that Lawson Krause scores to start this game is just basically a summary of everything we've seen this year. Morgan Barron gets caught in the middle of the ice, doesn't make the play. Adam Lowry gets absolutely danced by Dylan Guenther, not once but twice in overtime, and I can't wait to get to that conversation. And then Colin Miller's late to getting up on Lawson Krause. So it wasn't even just like one person to pin a goal on. It was a comedy of errors all the way around. Goal number 2, it's a comedy of errors from their best players. Kyle Connor fails to get that out, make a adequate outlet to Mark Scheifele. He gets caught in a bit of a spin zone. And then Dylan Sandberg loses his guy net front. These are some of Winnipeg's best and most important players that let the team down there in that moment. And then, they come back. Kyle Connor breaks that 300 finally. Great goal on the power play. Then they score their own goal where the top line and Morrissey do what they do best. And it felt like they were on a power play for that goal. And Morgan Barron gets loose and they go bang, bang. But it was really 2 back-to-back shifts and capitalizing it, which they deserve credit for, to roll shifts together like that. But other than that, it felt listless all the way up to the end. And you get to overtime, and you're like, oh, maybe Connor Scheifele, Morrissey will go do what they do and get this team a W. And you see that Scott Arniel might be on Team Tank as he sold this game against an upstart, Clayton Keller and Dylan Guenther in Utah. He goes Adam Lowry, Gabe Velarde, and Neil Pionk. And then Adam Lowry thinks he's Scott Stevens in 3-on-3 overtime. And Guenther goes to Keller, and this thing's over 15 seconds. And what are we talking about right now? As much as, like, I'm so done with the moral victories thing until someone in this organization shows a pulse. Top down, like, what are we talking about here?
It's hilarious. And Scott Arniel in his post-game comments specifically said he knows that Utah gives them problem with their speed. He knows that Utah's the way that they forecheck and the way that they're able to move around is such a problem for the Jets, and they can't keep up, and it's been a continuing problem. He specifically said that. So he knows what it is, but yet that's still the lineup he put out for overtime. Yeah, no, he's on Team Tank. Don't tell me he's not. He's listening to the show. He's in onto it now because that's crazy. That's crazy. And, like, look, he makes a bunch of really questionable decisions when it comes to overtime. But we can generally wash it away with saying, who else is he going to play? We started overtime that way. You don't even get that one this time. You don't even get the benefit of there's only one really good unit and da-da-da. No, we're going to go with 2 of your slower forwards and Neil Pionk as your starting crew there. That's some message that he's sending to the group.
And leaving this one, there is nothing to take away from this loser point and what they gained today. They jumped Seattle. Big jump here today. They're coming. But on this OT deployment, let's talk about it. Shout out to Murad Atesh for pointing out his old tweet. Scotty Arniel on OT deployment just last week. It has a lot to do with who's coming over the boards on the opposition side. But at the end of the day, I'm going to try and make sure that Shaif, Casey, and J-Mo are out there as much as possible. They have a history of ending games. 1 week later, we're talking about them not doing that against one of the quickest teams in the league with 2 of their slowest guys up front. We just talked last show about the consistency stuff and how consistency is line mates and shift over shift. And then we see him go to 8 different line combinations today.
Yep.
And 3 different combos of the first line. And guess what? None of them involved splitting up 81 and 55. The shuffling of the deck chairs continued. We saw Tanner Pearson comes up with a big assist on Morgan Barron's a goal to tie it. But let's talk about the fact that Cole Perfetti got benched last game for a silly penalty while they're chasing a game.
Yep.
Tanner Pearson took 2 bad penalties tonight. One while they were still coming with a push. Can't bench a veteran.
No.
I'm so tired of the tried and true old, what's it called, playbook in Winnipeg right now. What did you hear from Scotty Arniel to defend that decision? And what did his postgame sound like today?
So they asked him specifically because when Lowry went first, he put a lot of the blame onto himself for the overtime goal. So they asked Scott Arniel. They said, Lowry blamed himself. How did you see that happening? And he goes, well, Lows was real good this game. He was running that line real hard. That's just the way it goes sometimes. He was hoping to win the face-off and start with control, but that's just the way it happens. Cool. Thanks, Scott. That's real helpful. Yeah, it's tough. There is really no good way to defend that usage outside of somebody in the chat pointed out sending a message to the GM ? Like, I need some fucking help. I don't know how else to explain that one. It really doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I see Al Camino said that's a coach telling his GM to F off. Neil DeBuke says Arnie sent a message to Chevy in overtime. I actually think Tony Valeri is on the right track here, and I don't think it's the right way to go. I won't care that much big picture, but I think it's a bit of a coward's decision. I'm watching this, and this team is a desperate hockey team. We know the top of this organization sees them in a way that just is not close to reality. They're in a bit of a delusional state right here, so let me walk you into this. Mark Chipman went on this trip. They've moved to what? 3-11-2 in their last 16 games.
Yep.
Just a couple of weeks ago when Gary Bettman was in town, Chipman and Bettman had a season ticket holders breakfast. And at this breakfast a couple of weeks ago, Chipman made sure to let the people that got invited to it know that this roster is too well constructed to not turn things around. If they believe that, which it seems like they do, we just had this conversation about Mason Marchment last show, and there's a trade freeze going on, and we know that Chevy can't pull off a trade unless his back's against the wall anyway, so until another player asks out of Winnipeg, we're probably sitting on our ass. What do teams in that spot tend to do? Because the Jets, the way they see themselves, again, I don't necessarily agree with this. The way they see themselves, what's the only bullet they have to play?
The coach?
I think they're going to do it.
That's tough. I have a hard time seeing them do it one mid-season and two right before Christmas.
No, I agree.
That's a tough one.
I think it's in the cards, though.
Maybe during the Olympic break, if things have continued on this pace. It's not their MO to make a change like that mid-season usually without external factors kind of playing into it. If they did make a change, say around that Olympic break there, is there a name out on the market that you'd be looking at?
I think you're right about Christmas. I do think it'll be soon after Christmas, if I'm being honest. I don't think they're going to wait. I think they're desperate. The other factor in play here, season ticket holding renewals come out early Jan. We've been told to prepare for that. I don't think that's going to go very well based on things. And I think they're going to get desperate. And here's the funny thing about it all. I think they're going to go get the guy that knocked them out of the playoffs last year to try and save this.
Turning to a man they didn't quite understand.
And Aldon May says it, and hire who can make this roster good. I'm not saying I think that's the move. I think it's the coward's way out, because the problem we will continue to talk about is this roster construction. The problem is the vision, and this vision is bringing us to a lottery pick. So I'm excited about that personally. I'm trying to put my framework in where the Winnipeg Jets see themselves and how they see this situation, all the signals we're getting publicly, it's going to be their only bullet. Arniel's been a True North a loyalist, and he's gonna walk the plank for this. They have no other choice. They're not going to make the big trade, and they desperately think that they need to be a wild card team with this. I'm just saying, prepare for it. I wouldn't be surprised at this point. We're watching how that first period looked.
Yeah, especially, and you know what, it wouldn't come as much of a surprise if they've had some type of conversations that have maybe alluded to this, because he felt pretty dejected in that post-game comments today.
He did.
He was talking about how it's good for the guys to get away from the rink, spend time with their families, to do some inner soul searching, and realize that everyone needs to come up another notch, especially with Minnesota coming up next. He said they've had 35 games of inconsistency, so he does know what the word means. He did come around. I'm glad somebody got him a dictionary. Hell yeah, Scotty. So he knows it. He sees it. And the fact that we went through 8 lines today, we've talked about it relentlessly. Regular media has talked about it relentlessly. National media has talked about it relentlessly. And the fact that they will not even entertain the idea of splitting up Connor and Scheifele means that, one, we know for sure it is not Scott Arniel's decision whatsoever, and we know that it's not going to be changing. He's showing us that's what 8 lines today without them coming apart means, right? There's just 0% chance that he is allowed to do that. So I could, as hard as that would be to see, like, right away, because again, nobody's coming in and making this group better as currently constructed.
Fooling yourselves.
Right? You need to make a big change to your core pieces almost at this point if you're going to make a big enough change overall. So yeah, if they do go down that route and you do see a Pete DeBoer coming in instead of Scott Arniel, buckle up, everybody. It'll be interesting. Actually,
let's go.
Do you think either of the assistants would go with Scotty?
That I'm not sure.
That'd be, I'd hope not.
Let's go to the chat for a little bit to see what they think about that potential hot take. Just, he looks like a broken man in the media.
Yep.
They're the worst team in the NHL since November. They foolishly think they are a playoff contender. It leads me to only believing that. And that first period today, it just hit me like a truck that I think it's coming. Over in the chat, Tony Valeri says Pete gets this team to the playoffs, or gets teams in the playoffs. L. May is not interested in it as he abuses goalies. Al Camino says, no way Chevy has the nuts to hire DeBoer. That ends with Chevy getting canned next. Is that a positive, though?
It's adorable that we think Chevy would get canned on any side of it. If they bring in a DeBoer or whoever else, like, changing the X's and O's isn't changing the result of this team in such a significant way. Like, I don't know what they're
we're trying to put our perception in what they see, though.
Oh, no, of course, yeah. I'm just trying to think how they're going to sell this, right? Like, how are you going to? Is it that he's going to come in and write the attitudes in the room, and he's gonna, like, I don't know. Yeah, this is, oh man.
Al Camino says, I can't see DeBoer taking this job no matter how much they pay him. Hey, that was Paul Maurice's best friend.
That's the other side.
Coaches love job security. Connor Hellbuck's in the pipes, and if he believes that they're close to the team that played him in the second round last year, I'm just saying I wouldn't take it off the table. Coaches like to coach.
Yep.
Over on Twitch, Mike Friesen says, imagine firing the coach after handing him this roster and not even letting him split 81 and 55. Exactly. Choices TK also points out. What's that?
That does feel very Jets.
Choices TK points out, Jack Adams finalist gone next season. Life moves fast. We'll see. This team is slow to act on stuff, but I'm just trying to put myself in the framework from where they think they are. I agree with Grant Bancroft saying Arnie's line changes feel like a cry for help.
Yeah.
Jets Pope says Scott Arniel continues to baffle them with his incompetence. Talking about the OT stuff.
Yep.
I don't know. We'll see. That's where I think it's trending. Let's go to Gustav Nyquist, who played on PP1, was part of that screen on the first goal. I don't know where, but I saw Jets Empire that does some aggregating around the Jets tweet out Friedman was talking somewhere this weekend that the team is trying to find Gustav Nyquist a new home, given how things have gone. Then we hear Arniel talking about they got to find him more ice with offensive players. And he starts the game, though only for one period, with Shifley and Connor. What do you think of all of what I just presented there on Gustav Nyquist? Where's this going with him?
I had such a good laugh this morning when I woke up and took a look and saw that it was Nyquist up on the top line for today. You know, yeah, if you're highlighting him trying for a trade, good luck. You just played the worst period of hockey you've maybe played all year with him in that spot. So maybe not the best showcase if you're trying to get him out onto the market. But I think the bigger message from that whole kind of story is that the Gustav Nyquist acquisition didn't work. That's the part that I think is getting lost in the, they're trying to trade him, they're going to move him. They're going to bring the fact that is, I think the part that we're getting lost in is that it didn't work, right? It was a ridiculous bet to bring in Nyquist at this stage in his career expecting offense. But that's what they did. That's what they sold. That was their proactive move to try to, shore up the loss of Nikolai Ehlers. So that's the part I really want to focus in on is, again, when they've been proactive in trying to identify an NHL player, they went out and brought you Gustav Nyquist to replace Nick Ehlers. And they're bailing on it by Christmas. Not even by the deadline. It's Christmas. And they're like, yeah, no, this didn't work.
None of this is working at Christmas. Eldon May says, get us back our second-round pick if anyone is dumb enough. So when I saw Nyquist start with 55 and 81, though I guess it kind of kills it when it didn't last long, I immediately was like, okay, they're trying to juice his value. They're going to give him a little bit of a run here. He's going to get some assists playing with those two. It's going to shine the apple a little bit, and then you're going to trade him for picks. That didn't stay, so that kind of kills that idea. One thing I do wonder, and Steve Weir, I believe his last name is, used to be an AGM for Florida, tweeted something interesting on Friday about how he wanted to see two teams trade pending UFAs to get for each other at half retention so that they can both pivot to trade those off at the deadline at 3/4. And I do wonder if Nyquist plus a pick is what they were trying to do for Mason Marchment. That's where my head goes. And I wonder if that's why Friedman has Nyquist's name out a day after Marchment goes.
I could see that.
Right?
I would have balked at that as well.
I wonder if that's what they were trying to pull off around what we've been talking about this week.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
So that was interesting. Let's talk about Adam Lowry. Comes off hip surgery before really seeing him ramp back up. Gets a 5x5. Having a real tough start out there, and I thought this was probably his worst night. Where's the goat horns on two really big plays? Someone that took accountability for his play in the media at intermission and post-game. Where are we at with Lowry right now? And I got to say, how would we be feeling if Kyle Connor and Adam Lowry were the two biggest rentals on the market, had those contracts not happened in the last 3 months?
You want to talk about a rebuild? That would have been an absolutely stripped down. That would have been a big change to the haul you could have gotten. Can you imagine? Oh man. I think all three players that started the year on the IR there, Lowry, Sandberg, and Perfetti, not one of them has really had a long enough stretch of good play of their previous play of what we've expected from them. They've all been still off. A couple of them have had a little bit better stretches here and there, but even then it hasn't been great for any of those guys. So yeah, this is not the Adam Lowry we expected. It's not the Adam Lowry we're used to. He's in his own words about a step and a half behind right now, and it's tough to watch because you know that there's more there, right? You know what Adam Lowry can do, what he wants to do, what he's capable of, and it's really tough to see. And unfortunately, it's a bunch of them all at the same time right now, right? So it
sure
amplifies it even worse. But like you said, he's the first one to stand up and take accountability for those plays, for that action, both at the intermission and in the post game. He's never going to shy away from it and duck it. So, all the respect in the world to Adam Lowry. I'll never say a bad thing about him as a person, but yeah, his play right now is real tough.
For sure, for sure. I just want to point this out before sharing my thoughts on Adam Lowry. Mike Friesen says, now Arneal's supposed to do Chevy's job for him and pump Nyquist trade value. On Lowry, I think it was fair. And one of the reasons I was really down on this team coming into the year, flirting with a wild card, saying there was a potential they'd miss. Now, I don't think anyone would have had him bottom 5, but I thought it was in play. And part of the reason was, especially at his age, hip surgery like that, you normally get back the next season if it's going to come back. It's a hard thing to come back and get right back into an NHL season with. And I think just knowing that was happening and filling the middle of the ice with Vlad Nemestikov and the ghost of John Taves was just further compounding how bad the bets Kevin Cheveldayoff made. Like, we all knew Lowry was going to miss upwards of 2 months from the summer on. It's a big guy that plays a rough and tumble game. Honest game. Honest human being. As a captain, we've talked about him being a culture carrier of this team. But for the bets to work, I don't think it still would have, you would have needed Adam Lowry at his peak driving play and driving the defensive bus for this team. And I just think knowing that he was going through hip surgery, it just amplifies to me how bad the bets Kevin Cheveldayoff made and why, despite this talk that we think Arneal might be done or where this team is, the responsibility lies above his head. It's at the top of the org here. And at some point, when you go from first to bottom 4, you have the oldest team in the league. You don't have a sexy prospect pool. Like, right now, I'd love to see a guy like Gustafson come up. Never mind the prospects, because the prospects, I think, do need to keep marinating. But when you find yourself in this situation and you've had one architect bring you here, that's where the problem lies.
Yeah, if it's one player, you can point at that one player and say, hey, look, they're not playing well, they're a problem. If it's 2 players, you can point at 2 players. If it's the entire roster, if the entire team is just not good enough, you have to look at the guy that put that together. And unfortunately, the guy who put that together is in control on whether or not the coach gets fired. So it's kind of a tough spot to be in, right? Because you could be doing all the right things, even though, we have a list of things that we think Scott Arneal could be doing a little bit better. But overall, we like the system. We like what they've done with the assistants. We like what they do with their special teams. They run a fairly okay, before this season.
Their power play tonight.
Before this
Holy
season.
shit. Their power play tonight
Yep.
made me want to get up and just go do the laundry or something, because they were never going to do anything with their
The one where they
opportunities.
were completely within their own zone the entire time.
Yeah, man. Like, what the hell were we watching tonight?
Painful. Absolutely painful. But I think that's more of a this year problem, right? When we were looking at last year, just I liked the way that they ran the X's and O's for the most part last season. Coming into it this year, just everything has fallen apart. The roster's not good enough. They don't have the players to run that system right now, it feels like, as well. So you've really put yourself in a tough spot, and the guy who put them in this position, I can't see being the one to take them out of it, right? If his vision is how we got here, if Chevy's the one who went, these are the right moves to get us, quote unquote, over the top, I don't know if I trust him to then go, oh, okay, I made all the wrong decisions, and here's how I'm going to fix it.
Yes. Ian Vivian points out, Chipman is the president of Hockey Ops. He has the final say on everything. The Scout Look asks, how many coaches does the GM get? He's on 4 now.
Generally not that many.
No. And Gilbert Marion points out, at this rate, the trade deadline should be a garage sale. Caitlin Doucette on this topic says, if I won the President's Trophy in my first year as a coach and my GM gave me 37-year-old Taves and Nyquist to follow that up, I'd be pretty pissed too. That's where I lie. T. Will says, I don't think Chevy fires Arnie, because if he fires Arnie and doesn't fix things, there's only one move left to make. Matt Rothman says Chevy hasn't had a vision since 2018. His vision is literally make moves when forced to. Elias McCracken says season is over. I'm very excited for the draft, though, and watching the Olympics. The draft should be fun.
Yep.
But Mr. Angus goes, Trade 55. The Canucks traded Hughes and got a haul back. That team is totally different now with young guys contributing. They haven't lost since that trade, actually. Before the trade, they were dead in the water. Shakeups do works. Let's go there, actually. If you were looking to shake up this core, who stands out to you to make a bit of a franchise-altering move?
Don't shoot me, but it's Josh Morrissey. I think you can get the best haul for a Morrissey.
3 episodes ago, you told me you're going to be crying about that one.
I will be. That's what I'm saying. But if we're talking about what the best way to shake up the core to get the most return back, I think he's your biggest piece. But if you want to look at changing what the feel of the room is, what the makeup of the personality of the locker room, then it's number 55.
Caitlin Doucette asks, where would this franchise be if Rob Blake didn't bail Chevy out in 2022? AJ back says, Toth on Jets and Noon told me it's not Chevy's fault. Don't listen to him. Also want to shout out, who was it here? I'll find it in a second. My thoughts on it, and this is where it takes me back to the summer. The move was 81. He's now locked in. No move clause. $12 million. And him and 55 are never allowed to play hockey again in their life. So you're pretty much tied there, unfortunately. I think Scheif still has a no move clause until the back half of the deal. Larry would have been an interesting one, but we talked about small market culture carrier. When this team went backwards, you'd want him around. So I understand that. Just from an asset management perspective, he might have been the one. I get his side of it, though. Gabe Velarde, I do wonder if you pulled the reverse PLD trade and could turn him into a legit second center to change the dynamic of the roster. Mm-hmm. Josh Morrissey, at this point, just from a logistics standpoint, becomes the next obvious one just because he's going to be 33 at the end of his contract. He's going to get a fat raise, and you're just going to be tripling down on this in a worse spot.
Yep.
It's probably the easiest one, and it guarantees you a lottery this year.
Yeah, it's true. And you're right. Shifley has the no-move clause, full no-move clause for another 2 seasons, this year and next year.
Yeah, it's a sad one to talk about, but
yep.
At some point, you might have to. They're showing you they're not good enough.
The tough part is we know they would probably rather go down into a pit of mediocrity holding on to their core guys than ever actually make a big core-changing roster shakeup like that. I think they're really going to be betting on shedding, the quote-unquote depth players as much as they can, adding a bunch of other 30, plus year old slow veterans and hoping for career years again. Let's not forget last season, almost every single one of our depth players had a career year in terms of points and goals. Almost every single one of them. We had more double-digit goal scorers. We had it was an insane amount of guys who don't normally produce like that going off and having career years, right? Always beware the magical season. Because those guys, if they were doing that consistently every year, year in, year out, they wouldn't be depth guys, quote unquote. They'd be that, a little bit higher second tier of offensive guys. So, we kind of squandered the opportunity of having all of those, supplementary pieces just go off last year. And now they've all kind of regressed back to the mean, and we're seeing what that looks like.
The pendulum swung all the way the other way even.
Yep.
Not even back to the mean. They're having the complete opposite effect. On this topic, let's jump into the chat, and then Rahul has an interesting question I want to dive into because it kind of projects into next season.
Can we hit Facebook real quick, just because John Michaels over there, our friend on Facebook, says you can't trade 55, you'll never get the value back, which is true. You might not get full value right now. He says, last year we needed a top 6 winger and a 2C. We lost a top 6 winger and got 3 fourth liners. What did we think was going to happen? Hard to argue.
On this topic, there's a lot of different inputs. So let's dive around and let's discuss some of it together, Mikey. And then we're going to go into Rahul's question on YouTube. T. Will says, hashtag trade heli ... question mark. Goalies generally don't get the value on the market.
Yeah.
And you can never replace that.
Yep.
This team is so bad that he's not even saving them. That I think you can still adequately do this as long as he doesn't ask out, and that would be a dark day if I'm being honest.
That would be a tough trade to make because, yeah, it's one that signals the end. That is not a, retool. That's not an on the fly. That's a rebuild at that point. That is we're stripping everything down if Connor Hellebuck is going to be the one to ask out.
Elias McCracken says, nah, hang on to the top guys. Trade Nino Niederreiter, Nemestikov, and all the pluggers, including giving Perfetti a new view, picks and plan for FAs that want to be here. So I think this is the pathway to trying to pull off what Washington did. And I think everyone on this roster, like this big move we're talking about, I think Cannon should probably wait till the summer unless someone blows your socks off in season. But I think what they should do is do what Elias McCracken suggests right now in season, compile as many picks, and see what change of scenery type 23 to 26-year-olds come available for those picks in the summer. If you can retool the depth on the fly with a core within that core age group and pick up the tempo here, I would understand that approach. I still think it's going to leave them light. Now, if they get a lottery pick and do that, I think they could pull this off. But the margin for error there is next to nothing. I will say that. I do think there's some big risks to doing it, but I think that's the reasonable approach in season right now.
Yeah, if this was a proactive and creative management group, you would be looking at them to, dump off some of the aging veterans, whether that be waivers, whether that be moving guys for picks that do have some value, strip it down as much as you can right now, start nabbing guys that have been on waivers right now that have looked like, hey, maybe this is a reclamation project available in there, somebody that can play some NHL games for us while we tank, right? Those options are there and have been there. And then hit the summer, and like you said, use those to try to bring in that kind of, second level contract guys, their second contract spots. And then, they're not creative like that. This is not a management group that's shown to be proactive in that way. Wanting to appeal to quote unquote free agents that want to be here is probably the worst idea in how the Jets got into this issue in the first place, right? The aging vets who are hitting free agency look at the Jets and go, oh, great, there's a spot where I get to play over the kids. There's a spot where I'm going to hold on to my roster spot because I'm a veteran. Look how well they treat veterans there. Look at Luke Shen. That's so I don't know if we really want to be going that route of, just dump the guys that are here and try the exact same approach again with different old men. Like it's not conducive, right? It's not going to be your best way forward in this NHL. So they need to get creative with it. They need to do things a little bit differently than what they've shown us that they're capable of being. And I'm real worried that we're not gonna see that. We're gonna just see another off season like the one we just had.
Yeah, a few more takes, and we're gonna keep going, and we're probably gonna keep bouncing around in all of these types of conversations tonight. Yin Vivian says, agreed. Need a blockbuster to shake up the organization. Also wanted to shout out all of you over on YouTube. A big 50 spot tonight. Nice to see some new names and numbers in the chat as we keep it rolling. Make sure you hit the thumbs up, subscribe. Let your other Jets fans know this is the place you want to be post-game. Gilbert Marion said, never trade Scheifele. We're weak up the middle as it is, and ain't that the truth?
Yep.
Eldon May says, if I traded JMO, it wouldn't be before the offseason, which I think is a fair approach.
Yep.
Kalen Doucette does point out Gabe was a center in LA, by the way, though they even shifted him off of that as things got later and later there.
Yep.
The Scout Look says, trade Nick Ehlers. Oh, wait.
Oh, wait.
But I want to dive into this for a second as the chat keeps buzzing along. 204 Raw, Rahul. Nick, how many prospects do you realistically see on this team next year? Shen, Taves, Stanley, Kepke, Nyquist, Pearson, RUFA. Prospects won't fill those spots. UFA bargain bin again. How does this look going into next year? And how Rahul frames that? Like, who do you think from the farm might fill those spots? How are they going to fill those spots? What are you thinking there?
So you'll get replacements for the Tanner Pearsons and unfortunately I don't think you're going to be seeing another year of Johnny Taves. Everybody get those Taves jerseys now while you can, because I don't think he's going to be there next year after the current contract runs out. But you're going to get more, again, bargain basement, free agents are going to find guys at the cheap to play the quote-unquote fourth line roles. So you'll add a couple of those there. And then it just depends on whether or not Brad Lambert's camp finds a dance partner for that trade that they were looking at earlier, on whether or not he's going to be, quote-unquote, in the mix for a fourth line role. But you're not really losing anybody for next season that's really, kind of big in the lineup right now. So, yeah, you'll have to replace maybe Nyquist in that middle six because that's what they signed him for initially. But, again, I only see that being another veteran hitting free agency, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think the approach is like maybe one or two. Like I think Salo will be taking like Shen's spot. I think that'd be a
on
reasonable
D.
thing to
Yes.
project.
Yeah, Salo
Or just in
hopefully
general.
Salo should grab a spot there for sure. You would hope. You never know with this fucking group.
So I would think Salo, and also points out Nemeskov and Nino are 34 next year. I think Salo would be up on D. The forwards, I think it's going to depend how the second half goes. Does Jaeger get going and show that he could be pushing for a spot? Does Lambert show anything more than he's shown this year? Does Shiverkov? Looks like Kieran Walton's the one to be excited about in the O, and I don't think you're expecting him to step up to the end next year. I think the bulk of those roster spots, if you want to retool this, you're going to have to trade off the dead weight this year.
Yep.
Maybe take guys that are going to fall off those roster spots from contenders just to have guys in the lineup to fill out this year. And you're going to have to try and take those picks that you get back and find those guys that are needing new changes of scenery because it doesn't look like the farm system could bring much next year. And I think that's a real good question from Rahul. And I could see them bargain binning it again to try and fill this out.
Yep, I think that's the route they're going to go. I have a tough time seeing Jaeger getting to steal a spot in the top six next year, unless they do the smart thing and try to at least get something out of both Nino Niederreiter and Vlad Nemestikov. If you can find a dance partner where you can get some picks and create either a hole there or use those picks to go out and acquire somebody in that little bit younger of a phase, I'd be all for that. But I have a tough time seeing them actually being proactive. I can see both Niederreiter and Vlad starting the season on the Jets as expiring UFAs next year.
I do think Eldon May points out two names that probably will be in that mix, in Ford and Gustafson. The Gus bus has gotten hot in the A.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to make much of a difference, but I do think that's a guy that could fill in a fourth line role more than adequately. So names like that I could definitely see filling out the bottoms of a lineup, but there's a lot of work to be done here, man.
They, for some reason, are not high on Gus. They've shown us that he is not really in their NHL plans, even with like when injuries and things pop up. So as much as we would like to see it, and as much as he's earned it, I think I don't see the Jets unless there's a big change in what the coaching staff is. I have a tough time seeing really any of those guys carving out a top 6 minute producing role next year. I think it's still going to be bit players and depth.
Mike Friesen asks a big question. How are you going to sell bargain bin hunting to the big four? And someone over on YouTube had asked the same thing. Don Dawson says, how long until 55, 81, 44, or 37 ask for a trade as they see the window closing for a cup run and management not make the right moves? It's going to take that question or that demand for a big move to happen in this organization. They won't be proactive about it. And I am curious about it. And Rahul does say, Hellebuyck trade gets you to the bottom the fastest. He's too good to have this team consistently bad, in my opinion. I don't buy it this year. I think next year it gets tougher. And maybe they can retool it quick enough. I don't think he's saving them this year. I can't buy it based on everything we've seen so far.
No,
this team is legit bad.
Yep. Scott Arniel has said it, and he's the guy standing behind the bench. He knows that the guys in front of Connor Hellebuyck right now are just so disjointed and not good enough that he's not getting them into the playoff. It's reality, unfortunately. Hellebuck's great, and he'll keep them in close games sometimes, but they're not getting put over. They'll lose games by 1 or 2 now instead of 3 or 4. But I think that's the extent of it.
Roll Call 66 asks, frauds, ?
So Fraud Squad merch is coming back. Is that what we're hearing?
Are we lining that stuff back up?
We can do that.
I think at this point, to be called frauds, you got to have expectations of them to actually be doing anything. Like, frauds might be generous to how bad this team is this year.
Yeah. Yep.
Holy smokes. We're talking about a NHL historical record step back.
Yeah, they're third worst in the NHL right now from the bottom of the entire league. I don't know how you can look at where the Jets are and not come to the conclusion that this season it's a wash, and that's okay. It happens. It happens for every fucking team. It happens right across the board. It's okay. If they had somebody in management with a little bit of experience around having a championship team, they could probably tell them that these down seasons happen sometimes, and you have to quickly jump on them and fix those problems so that it doesn't become a bigger issue later. If you do that, you can stay competitive. You can retool this in a quick amount of time. But if you keep pretending that there is no issue, it's like a cavity in a tooth. We mentioned it the other day, right? You can pretend it's not there and tell yourself it doesn't hurt, but guess what? That hole is getting fucking bigger every time. Go to the fucking dentist, Chevy.
No. We need a new dentist in Winnipeg. Full stop. I'm at the point watching that game today. I do not trust him at the helm of this team.
No.
How do you trust someone that's gotten it so wrong over the last 18 months to do the right thing and not do the desperate thing? Yeah. I don't trust him.
The funny thing is, the best times that he's done something is when he's been desperate or pushed into a corner. So maybe we get lucky again.
Kalen Doucette does say, they defraud me of my time. And I agree with Rahul, who says, I can't see them being the Sharks or the Blackhawks level bad year to year if you guys are talking rebuild to the extent. I agree.
But again, right, we talked about this the other day with that thread. There's a difference between a rebuild and being unintentionally bad. If they're just going to keep being unintentionally bad for year after year after year after year, that's not a rebuild. That's just them sucking. Right? A rebuild would be actually taking the time, moving some core pieces, getting value, and then applying that value right away. Right? It's not dump out all these core pieces, get a whole bunch of first-round picks, draft them all, and then wait 6 to 8 years before we're allowed to play them. That's not what anybody's saying, right? We're saying go out there, be proactive with what you have on the roster. If you need to move a few pieces and be bad for a year or two, you do that, you recoup those assets, and then you make that push again, right? That's how you want to approach it. So, the spot that they're in is almost worse, right? This mediocre finishing anywhere between fourth from the bottom and just outside the playoff line. That's how you just end up with these, again, middling draft picks, middling things where you never go anywhere. They kind of need to bottom out a little bit to come back up. As John says over on Facebook, it's amazing what highly skilled elite players can do. Alice Schaefer in New York or Celebrini in San Jose, right? You need to just go out sometimes and hit the reset button, bring in some young talent, and go that way.
A wise man watching this show once said, "Hard times create good draft picks. Good draft picks create good times. Good times create weak draft picks." The cycle. It's the cycle of life, true. Baby. But hey, while we're all talking about this, let's pivot to the From Financial Faceoff, where tonight it's not about the game. If Santa could bring the Winnipeg Jets one thing over the next few days, what do you want Santa to bring? Let us know. Let's dive into the From Financial Faceoff.
Let's hit it. Right on. Phone lines are going to be open as well, everybody. 1-204-800-0409. Get on the line, call the landing strip, and share your From Financial Face-Off or whatever else you want to talk about.
Okay. Mikey, From Financial Face-Off. If Santa could bring you anything for the Winnipeg Jets.
If I could hop on the big man's lap right now, tug on that beard, smell that vodka on his breath, I would be asking for a president of hockey operations. I want a president of hockey ops that is an experienced winner, somebody that understands what it takes to make the hard decisions, that has a vision, that will take control of the franchise in a way that they desperately need. You can't have your owner as the fucking president of hockey ops. He cannot be involved in anything that has to do with on-ice decisions. He should be sitting there writing the checks, collecting the fucking tax breaks, and shutting the fuck up. That's what I want more than anything right now. I want a president of hockey ops. Chevy can be the GM still and work the phones and do whatever. I don't really care what role you give him. Put him in a corner, have him do photocopies. I don't give a shit. He can stay a forever employee. He can keep collecting his paycheck. He doesn't have to get fired if they don't want to. But I want, the way that they structured it in Montreal, I do. I want a president of hockey ops to come in and just put this shit together.
Yeah, diving into the chat, Liquor Beaver is ready to hear that the entire franchise needs to be booed out of their own building.
Great
Time
name.
it to send a message to Chipman. This bullshit needs to stop. The Whaler says the lottery win and the pick to be legit. Eldon May's excited about being fourth from the bottom because it's a great place to draft. Caitlin Doucette's From Financial Faceoff is the first overall pick. Gilbert Marions is a 2C. Nicholas at night wants a giant lump of coal perfetti. Where else are we going here? Kevin K says, From Financial Faceoff, a new GM with a vision and the stones to make hard decisions. Mr. Angus says, From Financial Faceoff, a complete overhaul of the management and team culture. No more playing favorites and rewarding loyalty. Roll Call points out, somehow these playoffs fried brains. Mr. Meowcat says, From Financial Faceoff, tanking and a rebuild will not financially supported by Winnipeg fans. This team will be moved. And I'm going to continue to push back against this. The apathetic direction that this organization will keep betting on and throwing bad money at a team that will never get there will lead to less seats being filled, as you're starting to see, than a team that commits themselves to a new era using the assets they have. This idea that it would take a decade just doesn't
It's
exist.
insane.
But the longer they go down this path, that decade starts to come into reach.
Yeah, again, nobody takes a decade to actually rebuild, right? That's not a thing. Just because they sold that to you in Winnipeg when they first got here does not mean that that is a thing. Look at the expansion teams. Look at the teams that have moved. Look at it's just not real. It doesn't take a decade. Nobody is saying we're going to be bad for a decade. But if you're going to be middling for a decade, guess what? That's just as bad because you're also not winning championships and you have nothing to sell to people, right? You can either sell, we talked about it before, you can sell wins or you can sell hope. You can't sell neither, and that's what they're doing by staying in this spot. So it's not a decade. It's not we're just going to be bad forever and no one's going to show up. It's you know what, you may have to be bad for a little bit while you kind of sell off the established pieces you have and refill the cupboards. But teams can get that done in a couple year span. It's not insane.
The other side of it, honestly, I'll just put this out there, and this is where things get scary for any pro sports organization, is apathy. When you have people that care about a team that just decide to tune out because of the direction you're going, because of the product you're putting on the ice, it is harder to bring those people back without major change. You need to see a directional shift. I'm a season ticket holder. I have two tickets. This year, it has been so much harder leading into games to find people that genuinely want to come to a free night to watch a game because they just don't want to waste their time on this product. And if it wasn't for this show, I wouldn't want to either. And I love this shit. Who wants to bet and buy on this?
Right? It's not fun. Like that's the tough thing, right? Sports is supposed to be fun. That's what professional sports is supposed to be. You're supposed to enjoy going to the game. And if you can't do that because one, they're just, poorly built, but if, like we said, if they had a real plan, right? If they had said, "Hey, look everybody, we had a great run last year. We put all our chips in. We weren't able to add big at the deadline because of X, Y, and Z outside of our control, but that was the best shot that we had. We think that, because of the way the season's gone this year, we're going to, if they had tried to sell you an actual future of we're going to try for this, we're going to do that, you can get behind that. It's the apathy that you just can't.
Yes,
Ready for a phone call?
Oh, yeah, let's go.
Hi, caller. You're on the landing strip. What's your name and what would you like to talk about?
Hey, it's Raul phoning. How's it going, guys?
Hey, Ro.
Rahul, it's going pretty good, buddy. How you doing?
Not too bad. Just lounging and watching the show. So figured I'd
Appreciate
call
you.
in, give you guys some company. But yeah, I just want to chime in on this whole rebuild stuff. I really disagree that it's going to be a quick fix. I don't know. I just see this team with Hellebuck they're just too good to be, get to the level of suck that the Sharks and the Blackhawks were, where they're bad for so long. You know what I mean? Like, if you rewind to the original, when the Jets first came back, right? So Atlanta, they didn't make the playoffs, I think 3 or 4 years, and then it took the Jets, let's say, up until 2017 to win a series, right? So that's what, 10 years almost before they actually won a series.
6.
And that's why, to me, as long as Hellebuck's here, I can't see them sucking, every year. Even this year, I know they're really bad, but look at how bad, look at how tight the bottom of the standings are. One win will, will make them jump a few spots. So I know they're bad this year, but I just don't think they're going to be consistently bad. And even you guys said maybe 2-3 years, Hellebuck will be 35, 36 in 2-3 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when they're ready to compete. So there's that. And I don't know, I just think the quickest way to the bottom is you have to get rid of Hellebuck because he's too good for this team to suck every year, which is probably necessary because they need elite, several elite
talent
pieces at this point, right? They just don't need one or two. Scheifele is eventually going to be, let's just say with that 2-3 year time range you guys were talking about, Scheifele would be 35, 36. Morrissey will be 34, I think, right? 33, 34 maybe. I don't know if you're keeping him, but all the current guys are going to be starting their decline perhaps. So to me, I think the quickest way to get to the bottom is you trade Hellebuck because he'll make sure you are a lottery team instead of a mushy middle team like you guys mentioned earlier with no potential, because there's always going to be that 1 year when you have, top-end goaltending that your goal scoring just clicks and you're just, like last year, you're a top 5 goal scoring team, right? And that never happens in Jets, recent memory. So, yeah, I don't know. To me, that's why every time I see someone, the Jets need to rebuild, it's how you start a rebuild is you trade the guy who puts up, a 920 when the entire league's at a 890. Because he'll bring you down a notch. But that's just kind of what I was thinking about.
Yeah, okay, so if you ask me honestly, I'll put it out there. I would do it because where I think this franchise is going scares me more than the uncertainty of stripping it down like that. If you ask me honestly, I'm trying to find a middle ground for the people that aren't ready for that conversation to try and sell a retool. Because I think you're right. Because when you look, this is all up against a ticking time bomb as far as ages go. We all know how aging curves go. And like you mentioned, they need multiple elite pieces to even try and win during the Hellebuck Scheifele window. They need at least another 3 core level talents that could carry the mail. And in this market, it's just so much harder in that respect to go find that outside the market. So they need to do it at the drafts. So if you ask me honestly, I'll put it out there. I do think that they should go that direction and do the big thing. Because I do think...
just to butt in here, if I'm still on. Am I still on?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and just to butt in, Hellebuck was in 2000, I think that was his second year draft eligible. He was he came out of nowhere essentially. He wasn't drafted in 2011, right? And he was a 5th round pick in 2012. That's such a luck of the draw, right? That's not repeatable. So this is the other side of the coin. How long is
correct?
This is why I'm I can understand why they'll never rebuild, because once you have elite goaltending that you can rely on every year. It's hard to give that up because you never know when that's going to happen again. So, like, you look at, like, Colorado, for example. They went through Grubauer, Kemper, Georgiev, and now Black. They went through 4 goalies in the last 5 years, right? Mm-hmm. And the Jets, and they're still a very good team, obviously. And the Jets, you know, have always just had Hellebuyck. And in those 5 years, he's won a Vezina, or 2 Vezinas. You know what I mean? You know what I'm getting at? Like,
yep.
All these teams, they just cycle these goalies, but the Jets don't have to do that because they have Hellebuyck. So I guess what I'm trying to say is you have elite goaltending, so it's like, okay, we can – this was my thing at the beginning of the year. You can already bank the Jets being a top 10 least goals against team because they have Hellebuyck and no other team does. You can already bank that. You look at the last 5 years, each respective year, Hellebuyck's on top of the league at goal saves a bit over expected. So that's why I was like, you know what, this team's middle of the pack in goal scoring and top 5 in goals against. That's probably good enough to be a playoff team, but obviously, you know, the goals for is not there. But that's why I kind of see why the Jets don't rebuild, because once you get rid of Hellebuyck, when are they going to get another Hellebuyck? You know what I mean? So I can see, and while every team in the league chases elite goaltending, Toronto, what's the joke with Toronto every year? They don't fix their goaltending because there's like 3 elite goaltenders in the league, right? They can rely on each year. So that's why I'm like, okay, I can understand why the Jets aren't going full rebuild, because who's to say when they're going to get Hellebuyck again? But yeah, that's all I had for you guys. I'm going to hang up and just listen. Thanks.
Hey, thanks for the call, Rahul. Ain't that the crux of where we find ourselves, Mikey?
Yep.
Isn't playing that conversation out the crux of this entire thing right now?
Yep, 100%.
And why it's like such a difficult spot. But to Rahul's point, and trust me, the Hellebuyck thing would kill me. I don't think I will ever watch another athlete in Winnipeg hit the level he's hit.
Yep.
On the reverse of it, though, I want to point out this. Al Camino says, and they totally wasted his best years. Zero Ghost 8 says, imagine having to live the rest of your life knowing you took your final realistic chance at a cup with a generational goaltender and 7 vets having careers simultaneously dragging you to a President's Trophy. And the deadline decisions you made to put over the top were Luke Shen and Brandon Tanev. That's where it's so frustrating, is because, trust me, I understand what Connor Hellebuyck means. That guy is a Hall of Famer today. He's going to go down as the best goalie in U.S. history. I think he's Mount Rushmore. They're never going to get him there. They're never going to get him there in his time in Winnipeg. And I do think Mr. Angus points out a great point, saying San Jose and Chicago literally ripped their teams down to the studs, but let their fans know what was happening. Honesty and clarity on a team direction from management goes a long way. Yep. They're in a pickle. And this is the crux of it all.
100% agree. You ready for the next call?
Yeah, let's do it.
We've got Nicholas. Hey, Nicholas, thanks for calling the landing strip. What would you like to talk about?
Hey, boys. How's it going?
Trying to sort through all this. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Hopefully my call holds up better than last time. I'm just calling in to disagree with the last caller. I get what his concerns are, and trust me, having a goaltender like Hellebuyck, it's an amazing thing, especially someone who grew up playing goalie and respects the position. It's awesome to have a goaltender of his caliber, but when you don't have a team around it that is equal to, or at least is of a standard that can help you win with a goaltender like him, it's like having the nicest engine for a car, but you don't have wheels, you don't have a frame. You know what I mean? It's like you're still not going to go anywhere, and if anything, it's going to hold you back from properly rebuilding this team. And Nick, I've heard you mention this over the last couple of shows about the mushy middle. Mm-hmm. It's equally my biggest fear. If you look at how Vancouver has just toiled and not committed to the biggest, the big decisions, it's what really starts to fuck with the team from making any sort of progress. As far as I'm concerned, and this is the other thing I want to mention too. Part of why I think so many fans are being harsh on this team is because the GM has told us that he believes that this team has the components to win a Stanley Cup when they clearly don't. And the thing that most people that understand what's going on can see is that, yes, you have some elite pieces in Josh Morrissey and Connor Hellebuck. You have an outstanding top line, but you do not have 3 lines below it that can compete, and you're not going to get the pieces to compete from within the organization, which is what a team like Winnipeg needs. So you're stuck now where basically if you don't take the risk, which is what this organization is so adverse to doing, which also scares me. It's like you can't be afraid of what might happen if you don't, like, you should be more afraid of burning the rest of these years that Scheifele, Connor, Hellebuck, Morrissey all have that would bring in some trade value, as opposed to lying to yourself and lying to the fan base that you have what it takes to win a cup. And then you're really fucked, because then, like, you haven't been drafting high enough to bring in pieces to keep replenishing. You got to replenish. This is the name of the game for this organization, is you have to replenish. So as far as I'm concerned, the time is now for the ownership to come out and say, listen, we tried our best. It didn't go the way we wanted it to. We know this sucks for you. It sucks for us. We're going to part ways with these boys. Like, this is the other thing. Doesn't matter what Scheifele, where he is in the all-time Jets records, chasing Howard-Chuck. You got to have the nuts to say, listen, we got to move on. We got to trade you. We got to recoup some assets right away. Because this is the other thing. When people say that Jets fans won't accept a rebuild, I think that's nonsense, because people aren't going to accept no plan, no vision. And if you start trading guys and you're bringing in assets, and then you're drafting higher up in the draft, and you're doing it with intelligence, you can move this thing along a lot quicker than what people would lead you to believe. But that's also going to take bringing in some new eyes and getting a president of hockey ops and a new GM. And that's all I got to say. Appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your show, and Merry Christmas. Great. Yeah. Talk to you later.
Hey, we'll talk to you later, Nicholas. Merry Christmas to you as well. Really appreciate the call and the well thought out thoughts on it. I'm definitely in the same camp as you. And I will say the firing stick has to go one more spot on top. Since taking over the amateur scouting rankings and going in a new direction, I need Mark Hellier as part of that restructuring. 3 NHLers in 10 years have been drafted and developed in the Winnipeg Jets org since Hillier took over. Logan Stanley, who's a borderline NHL defenseman on his shooting bender. Dylan Sandberg and Cole Perfetti. That is all they've drafted and developed since he took over. And when they went a different direction, it might be a time for a new set of eyes there for a team that desperately needs a hit on the draft and development cycle. And that is someone, I believe, pounded the table for Logan Stanley before getting that promotion.
Yep. Yeah, it's tough to, again, like I said, to trust somebody who put you in this spot, to trust them to get you out of it. They haven't drafted well enough. They haven't developed the players that they have been drafting well enough. And on the whole, rebuild versus retool, I think it's more so that, yeah, when you have the opportunity, like when you have the opportunity you have right now in front of you, where the Jets are legitimately bad, They are so bad to the point that even Connor Hellebuck isn't winning them the games. They're close. They're staying close, but they're still not winning the games. You have a chance to get that high pick to then maybe move one big piece for a nice big haul to try to retool, right, your core set and move forward. You have that opportunity right now. It's the fact that we don't see them going down that route that the bigger quote-unquote rebuild starts to come into place, where you are moving more than just one piece. You're wanting to then move Scheifele and all those guys who are hitting that spot in their career, because that's what a rebuild is, right? It's not trying to still win with pieces of that same core. So that's just my kind of my thought on that whole piece there.
Yeah, I also do want to touch on the goaltending, because Rahul did bring a good list of a lot of mediocre goalies Colorado cycled through. Because of their elite talent at the top of lineup, they ended up winning with their worst goaltending performance in Darcy Kemper. An interesting little twist. Elias McCracken goes somewhere I do want to push back on. Says, you can complain about Tanev and Shen, Nyquist and Pearson, but what if that is all they can get? That's the dark side of this all. Again, we've seen one person try. We've seen one person who has their own biases on what a roster should look like. The Winnipeg Jets have been so stuck on a structure that they can't even split up two players to reimagine a lineup. I don't buy this narrative that Kevin Cheveldayoff is the only person that could ever manage a hockey team in Winnipeg. I don't buy it. It seems like we've become so resigned to the narrative that's been pushed that doesn't look at the reality of the NHL and how movement happens. And the flip side of this conversation that no one ever wants to talk about, which leads us into this retool or rebuild, if you can't get the players to put you over the top, that means you're doomed. Guess what? If you were to trade off your aging core, you're getting players in the 21 to 24-year age group that doesn't have no trade clauses. You're getting picks. You're getting top prospects.
Yep.
They don't have control. The type of things that you'd be looking for in these details, teams can't turn down. Players can't turn down.
Yep. And on the goaltending thing, from 1986 to 2019, only 6 Vezina winners went on to win the Stanley Cup in the same season. So it's awesome to have that guy, as the ace in the hole. But again, that needs to be the piece that puts you over the top because the rest of your team is good enough. It's not Patrick Waugh, and he can't drag this lifeless corpse to the Stanley Cup final every year. We've got Mike F on the call next if you're ready.
Let's talk to Mike.
Hey Mike, thanks for holding. You're on the landing strip.
Oh, hey, you guys got me now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going, Mike?
Oh, just checking. Am I coming through? You guys got me?
We got you. Yep.
We got you.
Can you hear us, Mike?
Oh, am I on?
Yep, you're on. Go
'Cause
ahead.
I can't hear you guys.
You can't hear us?
Oh, you'll have to check your check the end there, because sorry, Mike. Oh, and we lost Mike.
We'll try and get Mike back.
But yeah, there are creative ways to do it. I just don't know if the Jets are going to be creative in getting there.
Mr. Miyake asked, Nick, what will
there
you
we
do
go.
if the Jets go on a tear and make the playoffs next year?
All
I
right.
would love if they did that next year.
Yeah.
It just can't be this year.
Hey, Mike, let's try this again.
Okay, let's try it again. You guys got me now?
We got you good.
Okay, right on. Yeah, I'll try to keep this quick. I just was, as I just keep looking at it, I think it looks really bad right now, like the next few years.
Yeah.
And, man, did he ever I think Chevy really put himself in a tough spot, like even trading the second-round picks. That's exactly the kind of thing that you'd try to slap a Band-Aid on this one and get in the playoffs. Like, honestly, I think the second-round pick might even just do it if we had a second-round pick to use properly. But, as I look forward, I think I guess I wanted to ask you guys basically is Gabe Velarde a piece that might be moved to solve this thing in the offseason? If so, should we just keep them together on the top line, pump that value up? And the other one was I was looking at other parts to maybe move, and I just keep looking at maybe DeMello or Pionk. I'm not sure Pionk's no move clause status, but I keep looking at that right side, and both of those ones make me think that, man, we got to get Salmonson playing right away. to find out. Because if he can take a spot, then I think those are some potential other moving parts that could be moved. So I just wanted to see what you guys thought about that. I'll hang up.
Hey, thanks for the call, Mike. I'll shoot it over your way, Mikey. Is Gabe Vilardi a potential piece? And we'll work through the questions there.
Fresh off of that $7.5 million deal, I think you're going to be hard to find a dance partner for Gabe right away. I think that one we're saddled up with for the next little while.
Ooh, I disagree there.
You think? Yeah, you think so? I think that's one they'd have a little bit of a tough time wanting to move out from the Jets side of things, just because they just inked him to it. You know what I mean? And Pionk has a modified no trade 15 team that he can veto. So it's very doable there. But again, two guys that just signed brand new contracts. I think it'd be. Would I do it? I'd definitely go down that road for sure. I would have liked to have moved Pionk even as a rental before, or just let him walk last year. So trading Pionk at any stage, I'm 100% for.
Yeah. Okay. So on Vilardi, so I do think I've been looking at every way you could possibly look at this on my fucking free time. I do think Gabe Vilardi can be used to get the piece that gives you a second center behind Mark Scheifele. He did not get a no-trade clause in his contract. Playing him with Scheifele and Connor, I think there's a lot of shine there. I think Gabe Vilardi's value is a lot better than I honestly do. I do think the org would struggle with it, but hey, we're talking about an org that needs to make some kind of hard decision. I do think he can get you there and you get a different look. Does it change a whole lot? We'll kind of see. Depends what that player looks like. But I do think Gabe Vilardi does carry that kind of value to. You might have to add to him to get that 2C. But I think you're almost doing the reverse of the PLD thing, which is kind of funny.
Which is hilarious.
After all these years.
Yep.
On the D side of things, I do think Pionk could be moved for a player that could score in your mid-six. I would be intrigued to see what the market thinks of him. Though Billy Guerin was probably the number one target, and he just got Quinn Hughes for that role.
Yep.
So a little disappointed to miss out on that one. I think Dylan DeMello could be moved for a second-round pick plus at this deadline, and I think they should be checking that out because Elias Salmonson with a lost season should be getting runway. He should be establishing himself so that one of those roster spots is filled next year internally. And you're moving off some longer-term money on a player that's declining. I think you can do a second-round pick plus for DeMello. And here's where I'm at. This year in season, anybody on this roster outside that core group should be available.
Yep.
And that core group, I'm talking about the four best. Anything after that, I'd listen on anybody right now.
Yep, 100% agree. The four best are Scheifele, Connor, Logan Stanley, and
if they don't trade him, man.
Actually, that's the next question I wanted to ask you. That's the next question I wanted to ask you. Do you really see them moving Logan Stanley by the deadline this year?
I think it's direct duty to not. Like, this is another reason I don't trust him staying in this job to manage this next 3 months.
Yep.
You can make more mistakes and get yourself even more stuck with the group you've fallen in love with by making some of those decisions. He did it early with Vlad. He did it early with Pionk. Did it early with Lowry. Like, I don't trust him to stay.
I don't know how you could.
But it's been a long chat. Great to hear from you all. I hope you all have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. We're going to get out of here. We'll be back on the 27th as the Winnipeg Jets play the Minnesota Wild. Thank you for being here.
You didn't want to do 3 stars?
Audience. Fuck the 3 stars at this point.
I had Christmas movies.
Okay, we'll do the 3 stars of Christmas movies.
Real quick.
My dog's getting antsy.
Real quick.
And we got Takeoff on it too. We want to hear from you. What are your 3 favorite Christmas movies on the way out?
So for 3 stars tonight, instead of doing my 3 favorites, because those are played out, I'm going with the 3 that I watched this year that were way better than I thought they were actually going to be. 3rd star, Hot Frosty. Snowman comes to life. He's the vet from Schitt's Creek. He's hot as fuck. So the girl from Mean Girls wants to have sex with him. It's a really good one. It's on Netflix. Hot Frosty. You should watch that one. Number 2, it's been out for a while, but I'd never seen it. A Bad Mom's Christmas. That shit was fucking hilarious. I laughed the entire way through. Mila Kunis, really good in that, even though she's kind of crazy now. And number 1, it's, again, super old, but it's so fucking good. Bad Santa. I fucking died laughing all the way through that one. Billy Bob Thornton killed me. So Bad Santa gets my number 1 this year.
Okay, I'm going to go third. You got to go the classic Home Alone. Second, it's definitely a Christmas movie. Die Hard.
Hell yeah.
And number 1, I got to go with the Polar Express.
Oh, that's right.
I'm a sucker for the Polar Express.
He loves the cursed eyes.
Yeah, it's a little weird the more I watch it, but I'm a sucker for the old Polar Express.
Excellent.
Let's run a tankathon, and let's see if Santa's bringing us a top pick as we leave this stream tonight.
Let's hit it. Looks like we didn't win this one. Let me pull it up here for everybody to see.
No Christmas W on the old lottery machine.
Let's pull her up here. So your Winnipeg Jets actually dropped a spot. We dropped down to 4th instead of 3rd. Terrible.
Damn it.
We're not getting we're getting lumps of coal this year in Christmas, it seems like.
And Chicago above us. Hate to see it.
Hate to see it.
All right, everyone. You take it easy. We'll be back on the 27th. Thank you for being here. Biggest audience of the year. Let's keep this thing rolling as the ethical tank, the old failing Winnipeg Jets, continue going on here.
Right on. Happy holidays. Good night, everybody.